Freeman. Got it. Back at the wall. Target. Clock. Step back. Three.
This is Chris Canary of the Indiana Pacers on Fox Sports Indiana, and you're listening to SmallTown SportsTalk.
Hello and welcome to SmallTown SportsTalk, brought to you by Endeavor Communications. I'm Jonah Freeman, joined by Andrew Willett. Andrew, how are you today, man?
Jonah, never been better, and it's a Monrovia episode today. You're obviously a senior at Monrovia High School, and I'm very happy to be joined by a fellow alumni of Monrovia. He's the head coach of Monrovia Wrestling, off to a 22-3 start, having a great season after conference, heading into sectionals. Really happy to be joined by head coach Kevin Blundell. Coach, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. Just got done with practice today, so feeling pretty good.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And obviously, before we kick things off, we want to kind of get to know you a little bit. Tell us about your sports background. Obviously, you're from Monrovia. It's pretty cool to be coaching now. And your background in wrestling, if you could.
Yeah, so basically, growing up, I was a football guy. I love football. I love football. Wrestling wasn't even really a thought. So just Little League football, was really fast, always either a quarterback or running back, and just had a lot of speed with it. So I always had success. So then I wasn't really growing. Like middle school, I was kind of losing my step. I was a late bloomer. as a freshman, I was probably 85 pounds. So I was a little guy. So I kind of stopped growing. I was like a seventh grader. But then one day, Mr. Fakes was just kind of walking through I was going through the gym. You know how he is in there. And he's just like, "Hey, what sports do you play?" I was like, "Well, football. It's not the best right now." So he said, "You should wrestle." And thank God he did that. Ever since he did that, it's kind of changed my life. So he got it started when I was eighth grade, and really fell in love with the sport there. I'm super competitive. So it gave me that, competitive. I was wrestling a kid exactly my weight, and I had a little success, and that's what got me the drive to keep doing it. So after that, just kind of wrestling under Mr. Fakes for 4 years and enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah, Todd Fates, the legend at Monrovia, still teaching gym over there. But Coach, let's get into the season. Obviously, it's been a good one for you guys, but we want to know what's it been like coaching during a pandemic. How has the season been changed by COVID?
It's always just day to day is just, it's very, as a coach, I've heard a lot of other high school coaches, which we've been blessed with, really just good luck right now with contact tracing. But at any moment, any day, you're just ready for that phone call where so-and-so is going to be out. And I've just seen the stress it puts on other teams. Like I thought it would be the other way around. I thought wrestling was going to be really bad, but it's looking like the basketball teams are struggling with, contact tracing and worse than we are. We keep our kids with the same partner. That's the only thing we're really lacking, is be able to really spread them out. But just always ready for if he gets something happens to him, and we'll just keep it to a minimum, and somehow we've been really successful this year, and we've had a couple of forfeits, but I've been moving kids up just to make sure we wrestle. And I would have never thought that this year we would have beat, Mooresville, Martinsville, Plainfield, some other schools that we've dropped in the past. And we're just handling a little different than other schools, I'm guessing. But they're not really giving a whole lot more forfeits than we are. We're just, I don't know, I guess our attitude's a little bit different talking to other coaches. The kids, they really want to be there, and they don't want to get quarantined. They don't want to be out. And some other coaches are having a very hard time with kids that kind of just don't want to be there. So it's the easy way out this year. So we've been blessed with, I really have a good group of young kids.
Yeah, you just mentioned the group of young kids. One thing I've noticed just being a student at Monrovia is just you guys seem like you're a really tight-knit group. And, I know Ben, obviously, I have him on Snapchat. I saw last night you guys were playing video games together. Like,
Yeah.
what's it like being a coach that can be so close with his guys and have that relationship?
Oh, it's pretty awesome. I still keep in touch with a lot of other alumni that I've had. I always tell them, you're always welcome back in the room, come back and help. Because that's kind of why I'm here. Mr. Fakes had me come back in and help, and I would have never, the head coach job was never even a thought. I just, if I can help somebody, I'll do it. I'll come in and wrestle, and I just like coming in there and working out. And, but just, Mason Hadley, he asked me if he could come help coach a conference. He had that Saturday off. So, I brought him in, and just being real tight and just seeing how the kids are, what they're doing in school or what they're doing in work, and how they're becoming better people. And, I'm hoping that wrestling had a little bit to do with some of that.
Yeah, Coach, if you could tell us about your team, obviously starting from maybe bottom and head on up to Ben Dalton, obviously.
We've had so our freshmen stepped in this year. That's really helped some of our lightweights. So not a freshman, but Ryder Goodman's a pretty tall 106-pounder, and he's got one move. And it's his cradle move. He thinks he's the best in the world at it, but he's got a lot of falls with it. And he's been coming in big for us on some matches and these, getting these pins, which gives us 6 points. So he's been starting us off, if we start lightweight, like at conference, we started lightweight and up, and they get us on a little roll like that. And it works out pretty good. So you got Ryder, he's a sophomore. He was under, I think he was JV last year, didn't have that many matches, but now, and then we got Jake Hampton, which is a freshman. And he's really stepped his wrestling up in middle school and coming in big. I mean, he lost some matches this year to some really good kids that are probably going to be, semi-state qualifiers and on. So, I mean, he's looking promising and already looking ahead to, what we can do better in off season and all this other stuff. So just having some positivity there. Going into the next would be 120, Owen Lyons. There's two sets of brothers here I always get. So Owen Lyons is the 120-pounder, and he's a sophomore. And he's been one of those guys that kind of come in clutch for us sometimes. And like conference and the semis, he was made a mistake and was pinned. Like he was on his back. He was dead to rights to me. And somehow he reversed the kid that really doesn't supposed to happen and pinned the kid. And it was a Beach Grove kid that we really needed those points against, and ended up being in the finals. And he asked me what he needed to do better. And don't do that, but don't do that from your back. It's kind of hard when something like that happens, but he's always doing stuff like that. And then next is another freshman that's been big. He's Lane Falkenberg. He's a freshman, has wrestled a long time. So, and he's in our varsity lineup, and he's been coming in big for some of these duels. It's just different kind of having a freshman, in the varsity lineup versus other schools. You have to be a really good freshman to be in the varsity lineup. You're normally JV, but that's the difference between kind of our small school versus some of these big schools. These kids are getting varsity experience right off the bat, whether you like it or not. So that's the wrap for our freshmen. I think that wraps it up. We got Asher Clements is next. He's been under Ben all year, and Ben's been moving up to 138 to let Asher wrestle a full season, so it helps our team. And Asher's been coming in huge. If he would have wrestled conference, he could have probably been a conference champ, but it just kind of stinks he's been under Ben. And that's the same thing Broden Goodman had to deal with last year. When you got somebody of that caliber, you're just, you're a good wrestler. You just got to kind of stick it out. And, hopefully Ben goes away from your weight, or you gain, or something happens to get away from him. Because that's just the name of the game. But Asher's been in there all year except conference. They had to wrestle off. So Ben got the 132 spot, which he kind of knew that was the deal. But he got a full year of matches just because Ben moved up all year. So that was big on Ben's part, being part of the, helping the team out, letting that happen. And Asher really just not complaining. He'd just be like, what weight you want me to go? I'm like, just keep waiting at 32. We'll throw you at 38. If there's a tougher guy, Ben's going to wrestle him, so that's the way it's been going. It's worked out pretty well for us. So the next weight would be Ben at 138, but she's technically 132 now. And you guys probably know all about him. It's his senior year. He's, this is the year we really got to get it done. So he hasn't really. We've wrestled a couple of good kids. He's bumped up and wrestled a kid from Decatur that went to state last year, and he beat him, decently. I mean, it wasn't. I think he beat him by 3 or 4 points. But he's kind of been chasing that competition this year versus other years. I think he was more concerned with a record, nervous about moving up like that. So this year he knows he needs to really put it all out there regular season, because we really look forward to the postseason part, So that's kind of what we've been focused on in the next couple of weeks. It's just going to be getting everybody ready, including Ben, as much as possible, putting him through some really hard practice sessions and really getting him ready because he's got a tough road to state to get there. So we got to really make it hard on him, so.
Jonah, do you know what is ridiculously fast?
What's that, Andrew?
Endeavor Communications internet speeds.
That's right. In Indiana, basketball is everything. And if you're anything like Andrew and I, you are always streaming basketball, your favorite sports, or just your favorite shows. And hey, you're always going to need Wi-Fi.
Ridiculously fast.
Endeavor Communications provides Wi-Fi perfect for watching the big game, streaming your favorite shows, working, studying, and gaming all at the same time.
Not only is Endeavor fast, but when you go with Endeavor, you support the whole community.
Endeavor Communications is proud to serve and support our local community. From homes, educations, businesses, Endeavor will keep you ahead of the game.
You can find out more and see for yourself at weendeavor.com. That's weendeavor.com. And tell them SmallTown SportsTalk sent you.
The next is one of my, I can say this and they know it is, I got favorite wrestlers. I got a lot of them, but Broden Goodman, he was under Ben last year. So he's wrestling 138. And he's just a, hard worker. Today Broden and Ben went together for the later part of practice, and he's really hard to hold down, and Ben knows that. So he was really giving Ben a hard way to go. And, I said, well, that's your new practice partner for a good bit, because Brady got injured. So he's kind of taking it kind of light until Brandy clears him from conference. So, but that was if I can stay on Broden, just tell me, get up. Ben, he kind of looks at me like, oh man. So, and he's just, I think he went to semi-state and cross country. So his conditioning is really good. He's always staying active. He's really strong for his weight. And then technically he would be a 132 pounder, but then again, we got Ben down there. So we're kind of jammed up down there, but I'm looking for him to do some decent things at 138. He would have been a conference champ, I believe, Saturday. He was leading the match, and he got thrown late and got thrown to his back, and that kind of changed the game. But we went over that today to try to we don't want that mistake to happen again. So, but no, that was Broden's. I'm looking forward to that. And the next one would be 145 is going to be Brady Denny. I've been bumping him up 152 all year, and he's been winning some good matches, looking good, even wrestling light. He got injured this weekend at conference twice in the same match, and they were both pretty, like the still pictures look a lot worse than what I seen. So he's got a slight MCL sprain is what Brandy was saying, and one throw looked pretty bad. He landed on his neck, but luckily nothing like that, no bad neck injuries. But he's just another one of those assets that's been wrestling for a while. We had right there in a row that's been helping us win duels. He come big in Mooresville for us and got the fall on that, got the pin at 152, got the pin for us, and really got the, just gets the meet going when somebody gets a good fall like that, gets everybody pumped up. So he was a good asset to that meet for sure. And looking for him to hopefully go deep in the tournament too with Ben. So the next would be 152, and that's another Lions brother, Evan. He's a little light for this weight class. I think he's really a true 145 pounder, but is a sophomore, not deep wrestling, but he's learning. I mean, he comes off the mat, what I need to do. what should I do different? I mean, just ready to sponge anything up you want. And you can really, the type of kid you can really yell at, and he doesn't shut down. He needs that and wants it. So looking, I mean, he just improving every meet, and he's won some good matches for us. And he come in, he placed this year at conference. That was our goal, to get everybody placed, and I think he placed third, which is big. So helped us out a lot of team points there. So next would be 160, Nick Arnold. Nick is if you know Nick, he's just if he would loosen up a little bit, he'd probably be a lot better wrestler. But he's just a strong, just a real strong kid that's really tight all the time, and he finds himself either in a pinning position and he's getting pinned. It's not, or he's got a bloody nose. I think that kid's had, I think, a bloody nose every time, every practice. But he's been sticking with it, filling those weight classes that we need. I know he kind of gets discouraged sometimes because we bumped him up to 170. There's some tough kids up there, and he's not anywhere that weight, but he just, he says, yeah, all right, I'll do it. And he goes out there and gives it, everything he's got. And that's all we ask for as a team, guys like that. So next would be Alex Skodoris. I got him at 170, and he's really about 160. He weighs like 165, but he's pretty athletic kid. He's been improving meet to meet, just really improving. And it's just, we get some of that muscle memory down where he's just, not overthinking moves. I mean, you're just going to see a huge improvement. I'm thinking if he sticks with it, because there was almost a point there where he thought about not wrestling, he told me. And then like midway through the season, he was like, man, can you believe I almost didn't wrestle? I was like, yeah, I know. I remember you saying that. But he's just been a huge asset. In Martinsville, I remember second to last match, and we needed a pin. And, Alex comes in big with a pin at 170, and just everybody's had a little part to help our success. And I just remember certain ones there towards the end of the meets that really set it off. And Alex set the whole tone. We knew if we got that fall, we won it. And he did it. He knew it. He was pretty pumped up, but it's stuff like that he's helped us out big with. So the next one would be, we forfeit 182. We had Zach Strong there. He's a freshman. He moved. He moved to Seymour. So we'll just go to 195. We got Sean Gaston. He just become eligible. So his first meet was, I think it was a tough one. He was at Monrovia Duels. He wrestled, he thought he was going to have to wrestle the state placer from Lutheran, but that kid moved up and wrestled Jaden. So he dodged a bullet there, but then he's seen him again at conference, and he got pinned the second round, but then he come back and won every one since then. So he come back and got third, which was big for the team. He also got a fall in Mooresville, I think his second meet back, to help us secure the win there. And that was big. So he just knows the importance now of keeping his grades up, because we need him for football or whatever sport he plays. We can't have kids like that just, sitting in the sidelines because they're great. So he knows what he needs to do, and hopefully he learned from that mistake. Moving forward, we got Jaden Whalen. Jaden's just been just a machine with trying to learn attacks, different moves, just working hard, a good leader in practice. He's just had some heartbreak matches for a senior that I don't even like talking about. Like senior night, he's winning 8-3 or something. I just, in my head, there's not a threat there. And he gets thrown to his back and pinned. And he has these matches. It's just like hard for me to watch because he deserves every one of them. But every other time he's coming in big for us. He gets the pins. I mean, Team State, he come in big for us. Just doing everything we need him to do. We just fall in these matches. Sometimes he loses last second. I don't know why they all have to be heartbreakers, but they're just he's just got that luck. Hopefully we get that figured out in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So last and final one, we have Jaden Huffman. He's our light heavyweight. He's really should be a 220 pounder. But he's wrestling heavyweight. He's just a shy over. He's not 285. And that's exactly the matches we struggle with. He likes to wrestle like a 220 pounder, but shooting low shots on 285-pounders, he just gets smashed, and he's asking me what I should do. And I'm like, well, don't do that, but he's coming big on some matches. It's just kind of tough, to give that advice. That's the one weight class that's got this huge gap that either you're really big or you're really light. And me not ever wrestling heavyweight, there's not a whole lot of advice, because the advice I would give him would be the worst advice, to give a light heavyweight to be shooting leg shots on 285-pound guys. And that's what happens. The only matches he loses is flat out just strength or weight. So him being a senior is just, it's been a good year for him, and he keeps improving. He keeps surprising us with some of these matches, working from bottom. That's where he really scores and gets his pins. So looking forward to a postseason with him also. But
you just mentioned the postseason. You guys, you've won county, you've won conference, and then you mentioned the team state. The team state is a pretty cool thing to be invited to. You've had the experience. What do those experiences do as far as your chances going into the postseason?
Yeah, they know the way that the point system is to get invited, we have to have as many underclassmen, keep advancing. And I know our sectional and regional is just really, really hard, but they give us kind of some bonus points for it. So I say, hey, if you guys want to go, this is what we have to do. Everybody just advancing, and then just trying to work towards something of next year. Because it is a grind, you get towards the end of season. Some kids, they've been cutting a little weight, and that's not fun. And it's just a grind. And you got to embrace it right through then, or you let it eat you up. So team state's kind of that little push that they always like, all right, so we know what we need to do for next year, and are looking forward to it, because it is a good event. This year was a really bad experience with it, just because we didn't have our lineup, and they didn't experience like I've been. We've been 3 times, and it's a really good event for teams. And it gets everybody fired up, and we've had some success there. It's just not, this year wasn't a good, I explained to that, like, we can't come up here with 3 forfeits and expect to win. It's way too good competition team wise, but that's what they're looking for. I preach to them every day about, hey, it's bigger than just you. If you could advance, it'd help the whole team out. So they know about it.
Yeah. And obviously just one conference. Ben Dalton was the conference champ. But now you've got like a 2-week break up until sectionals. So talk to us about conference and what these 2 weeks are going to be like before tournament starts.
Yeah, it's a good little, I'd like to think that it's a break from meets, but it's going to be a grind for them. I gave them yesterday off. We're really going to do a lot of live. We're always in the weight room at least 3 times a week. So this week we're just going to do 2. So Dave put him through a pretty good workout today. But it's going to be a lot of, I've talked to him today, like whatever you need to work on personally, like that's what you need to be focusing on. We're going to go live, but you really need to be focusing on what you need to prove. And we go over like a kind of a meet recap, like, is there something that, why did you lose last seconds? Well, this is what happened. This is what you need to put in. Just stress to them in practice that it doesn't matter how many times you get taken down trying something, nobody's counting that in practice. So try to get them to loosen up and understand that, we got 2 weeks, but it goes quicker than what you think. So we can't just, all right, yeah, we'll step it up next week. And it's just kind of watching injuries. I know Ben's kind of been down on his back a little bit, but trying to get him mentally, it's a big game with him too. And I understand, like, you have a back injury or something, what that can do mentally to you is worse than, anything I can do to him in practice. He's ready to go. He knows what he needs to do, but my focus with him is getting him healthy and then getting him in shape too at the same time. It's kind of a double-edged sword. So he's mature enough to know like what he should do. How's it feel? And Dave's been our strength coach has kind of been stretching him out, helping him on different workouts. So hopefully I can get him right. Because I typically, any guys that go to state or anything like that, we've always done a lot of like rehab. I've taken, I think when Eli and Ethan and Garrison, they had that chirotherapy where we put them in an ice chamber. We went and did that the day before, the day of, to kind of recover. I just kind of get them right to where we got the best recovery possible, so we're ready to go. And I think that's really good mentally, to know that, I feel good. I'm healthy. I'm ready to go. So it's kind of the next 2 weeks is going to be a grind, but it's also kind of trying to get him mentally ready too. So it's a tough balance sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got to know about Ben Dalton, because all-time wins leader here at Monrovia, obviously a storied program in Monrovia Wrestling. So what does that mean for him, and what's it been like watching him? Not only, obviously he's been dominant for his whole career, but watching him grow over 4 years.
Yeah, it's been good. I'll tell you what, we used to butt heads in a good way, but just the way, because he doesn't like to lose. He's very competitive, but like, other than like this year, which he hasn't lost yet, but like we've talked about maybe his sophomore year where freshman year did not go the year that he thought. I mean, he probably should have went, but the way our semi-state is, he didn't get the good draw. And, he always remembered the way he felt from that loss. He never wants to feel that again. So he had a little bit of pressure, but once we got to state, it kind of it was off of him. And that is a big round, going to semi-state, and everybody's got it, Ben Dalton, he's got to do this, he's got to do this. And he's got a little bit more riding on his shoulders than a lot of others because everybody's out to get him, so if he thinks that, oh, I wasn't down to that match, something's wrong. So I'm like, no, you don't play into that. But he's just been, after we butt heads and figure out, this is what you're doing wrong. If you can keep doing it, this is going to keep happening. And then him changing it kind of in semi-state week, his sophomore year, and him coming back and getting third and avenging some losses, and he tells the other kids, the guys, it is hard. I have the same habits, but you got to break and you can do it, and it's going to work. And then just, it's great because I kind of knew he was that special kid coming in. So I knew these records were probably going to get broke, but it's just a matter of staying healthy. He loves wrestling, so I don't think his mind's going to go anywhere else. I mean, he's about stats. He knows what records. He knew what records he was going to break his freshman year. And I think when Bryson Denny got that, Bryson come off, he's like, well, it'll be good for a couple of years until Ben gets up and breaks it. So Bryson knew he had it for a couple of years. That's why it was real important to get that one up on the board pretty quick, because we're not real good about getting those records changed real quick. So Bryson wanted it up there pretty quick because he knew he was only going to be about 2 years until Ben got there. So it's just been real fun. And it does stress me out a little bit too, because when you get somebody there that level that really wants to, and they live for it, and that's all they, and then the high stake matches where you win, you go on, or you lose, you're done. Man, they really put a strain on us coaches too, because you just don't want to see anything happen to the kids that work so hard for it. And then you look over to the heartbreak for the other kids too, because it's just a tough road down there, semi-state. There's kids that always a kid that probably should be top 5 doesn't make it out of Ben's weight class. And I hate to see that until they restructure something. That's just the name of the game. It's been happening since I was in semi-state. So I told him that's just the name of the game, but it's going to either make you a better person, hopefully, after going through all this stuff.
Absolutely, Coach. We got one more thing for you. It's the 60-second speed round brought to you by Endeavor Communications. Andrew's got the timer. I've got the questions. So on Andrew's mark, we'll start that.
Coach, let's hit this thing going.
All right.
Favorite movie?
Shooter.
If you were given $1 million, what would be your first purchase?
A huge wrestling workout facility.
What's your favorite pro sports team?
Favorite pro sports team would be the Colts.
Do you have a favorite athlete?
It'd be right now. It'd be David Taylor, wrestler.
Favorite restaurant in Morgan County?
Tough. It'd be the cafe right now.
What's your favorite thing to do in free time?
I work on my side business. That's kind of weird, but I'm working.
What's the best piece of a brownie? The middle, edge, or the corner?
Middle.
If you could pick one superpower, what would it be?
Strength.
What's your favorite music artist?
It'd be Garth Brooks.
And at
That's
the
it.
buzzer, it's Garth Brooks. Coach, thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck the rest of this season.
I appreciate you guys giving a little bit of wrestling some time. This is good for the sport, so I like it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially for a program like Monrovia's and for our hometown Monrovia Bulldogs.
Yes, sir.
Coach, best of luck, and to all of our listeners, thank you so much for listening. Go check out all of our podcasts wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that be Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. For Jonah Freeman, myself, Andrew Willett, and today, Coach Kevin Blundell. That's ST Squared.